All right, we were able to display a message to the terminal, so it's a great start. But what happens when we execute the code? Knowing that answer will help us to write codes more efficiently. We know that the CPU runs the Python program, but it only understands machine language or machine code, which is basically a set of binary digits. The question here is how that Python instruction is translated to that machine code so that the CPU can understand it. And the answer is by a Python interpreter. And that's why Python is called an interpreted language. And any interpreted language translates each instruction line by line and execute it. So in our case, we just have one comment. Let's create more. So I'll just say, hey, my second print, and then you, my last print. To help to understand that it's really going line by line, translating and executing each line, I'm gonna import a library called time. So I have never mentioned importing libraries, but so for the sake of the explanation, I'm gonna be using it, but don't you worry, I'll explain it later. Here I'm gonna be using time.sleep, which basically provide us the ability to wait for some seconds between two commands. Let's choose 4 seconds, and then, all right. Now, if I run that code, how can we do that? We saw in the last video that we should call Python, then the name of the file, in my case, script.py. If I run it, my first command is translated, executed, and now my second command is translated, executed, and so on. So you know that each line is translated and then executed, and you see it in the terminal. When you see it in the terminal, it means that it is executed. That's it. That's how any interpreted language works. But why is it important to know that? And how can you take advantage of writing your code? The main goal of that video is to tell you that Python interpreter works in 2 modes. One is the mode that we have been working, and that's called script mode. Script mode is basically when I say Python and the name of the file, and that's what we call script mode. Why? Because the Python interpreter, it will read all the content of that file, and if all the content is valid, like Python statements, they will be translated. So the CPU now, you understand it, and you execute it line by line. Perfect. The second way, that's the way I want to show you now. Imagine if I don't provide the Python name, if I just type Python, that's how you can access the interactive mode. In the interactive mode, you see that there is, so first you see it's a Python, the version I'm using, which is currently 3.7, and I have those, I don't know how to pronounce that, maybe larger than symbols, I don't know, but 3 times, but there is that thing which is blinking, and it's basically expecting the user to add some valid Python statement. We just know one as of yet, so that's called print, and I say, hey. That statement got translated to the machine language, and then the CPU execute that, and then we got hey. Now if I the same and say Brazil, again I get Brazil. But if I just remove those quotes, what's gonna happen? Look, there is an error. All right, so now I know if I just take that line and add it here, I will face an error in that line. So actually I will just not sleep here. I also not sleep here, but I will show you the power of the interactive mode. So imagine if you're writing a very large script which takes, let's say, 10 seconds to run. Actually, it doesn't need to be a very large script, but it takes 10 seconds to run. And now you don't want to wait for 10 seconds to get your response to check if your new added comment in that script is valid or not. If I run that, so what I'm gonna do here, let me open a new terminal. So what I can do, can go to the terminal icon here, press the mid button of the mouse, just make it a bit larger, put it here, and you see that now we are in different, where's the location? Here, see Rodrigo, perfect. So I can just CD, paste, perfect, make it a bit bigger. Okay, on top here, we have our interactive mode, and here below we have our script mode. So again, if I run it, so I say Python script. Now we got, hey you, I'm learning Python. So imagine now I'm just simulating that we had a lot of code and it takes 10 seconds. And after 10 seconds, you get the response. But now if I just take that command and just test it here again, look, it's there. Automatically you get the response. And you know that if you add that comment here, you're gonna have an error. And that's the beauty of that interactive mode. You should be using that every time you know that your response time is too large, and you can also use that for small testing. So for instance, if you don't remember, how can I access the first term of a list, or how can I access a dictionary and things like that, you can always do that using your interactive mode, and do not disturb your script, which is basically the main mode we're going to be using.